In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to create a character going from jumping on the ground to up in the air and then landing on a box. So let's get started. All right, I'm going to go to File, New, and I'll just use my default 550 by 400, 24 frames per second. All right, I'm going to hit Command plus to zoom in, and I'm just going to draw in the background. Okay, so I'll draw in a box right here. Okay, this is going to be my background layer. I'll call it BG. And then I'll just extend this out to maybe frame 70. So I'll go to Insert Frame. Okay, so now I can see that background on all those frames. And then I'll go ahead and lock that layer, and I will create a new layer. This will be Person. All right, so I'm going to first start with my storytelling poses. So I'm going to draw in the character's torso right here. I'll put in a head shape, nose. He's going to have a hat. Eye right here. And we'll put down some feet. And maybe some arms, like so. Okay. And I'll just erase here for the nose and right here. I'm not terribly concerned about the quality of the drawing. I'm concerned about adding these principles of animation, okay? So here's my first pose, and then I'm going to go to frame 3, insert a keyframe, and then I'm going to move this drawing so the character is standing up here. So that's the start position and end position. And then on frame 2, I'm going to insert a blank keyframe so I can put in a new drawing. I'll turn on my onion skin so I can sort of see the beginning and the end. And then I'm just going to draw in the character in a position where, let's see, put that down right there. And maybe up like this. Okay. So now I just want to compare the size here. Maybe I drew the character a little bit too large, so I might just scale it down a little bit. All right. And I'm just going to move this down a tiny bit so I'm still in the frame here. All right, so there I've got my storytelling poses. I'll turn off my onion skin, so we go from here, up, and then down onto the box. So our storytelling poses are done. We've planned out our animation. So that's stage 1. Now I'm going to go to the first frame right here. I'm going to press F5 to insert a blank keyframe, and then I'll right-click on that blank frame, and I'll insert a blank keyframe. I'll turn on my onion skin. And now I'm going to draw my extreme. So before we can jump up into the air, we first have to bend down to anticipate that jump. So that extreme is going to be the change in direction. So we go down and then up. The extreme is right here. This is my storytelling right here. So this is the extreme. Change in direction. So I'll put the feet in, same place. And then I'm going to draw in the body, kind of bent over, anticipating the jump. Let's see. So I'll put in the bend in the legs here. Let's see. And put some arms going back like this. And I think I drew this a little bit too large, so I'm just going to scale it down a little bit. Actually, let's pivot from this point right here. Okay, so we go from here to our anticipation. All right, and then I'll reuse that frame. So I'm going to copy that, and I'll go to frame 3. I'll press F5 to make space, a blank frame, and then I'll paste that previous frame, move it over. So I want to line that up with the other drawing right here. So let me zoom in on that and just make sure that the feet line up. So we go from that to standing up. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got our storytelling poses, our extremes. The extreme is, again, the change in direction. So now I'm going to put in my breakdown poses, okay? So right here on frame 1, I'm going to press F5, and then I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. And let's see. Actually, that's a mistake. Let me go back. I'm going to go to my extreme and then press F5. Okay, and I'll put in a blank keyframe here. All right, so let me see. We're going to go from the ground, and this is going to be like a character coming up, like leaping up into the air. So we're going to have a lot of contrast. Stretch out the character maybe a little bit. So notice how long the legs are going to be stretched out right here. So we got to add squash and stretch to our animation. And then we're going to have some drag on the hat coming down. And let me just make this arm a little bit higher. Okay. And I'll erase in here. Okay, so this is pretty extreme. I'm going to just move it down a little bit. We do want to stretch it out, but not too much. Okay. All right, and then right here, I'll put in another blank frame, and then I'll put in a blank keyframe, turn on my onion skin. I want to look at these two drawings, okay? So I'll put in a drawing. I want to put in some curvature here. Okay, and a little edit right there. Okay. And I'm going to make an adjustment right here. I'm just going to move this over a little bit. Going up and then coming back down. So right here, I'm going to hit F5, insert a blank frame, put in a blank keyframe, turn on my onion skin, and then I want to put in a curved position here. Okay, so that's another breakdown, so we can sort of see how this is shaping up. Okay, so right in here, I'm gonna re-examine my breakdown here. So what I'm gonna do is just curve this a little bit more. So I'll just like lasso the head right here, and I'll take my transform tool. I just want to like tilt this forward a little bit, and maybe I'll lasso the leg right here, and maybe just curve that a little bit more. Actually, let's go a little bit thinner on the brush. And I feel like maybe I could rotate the whole thing a little bit. Just try and add more of a curve in there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at this going up, coming down. So got our curve there, going up. So right here, I'm going to put in I'll put in a blank frame, and then right here I can put in a new blank keyframe. Turn on my onion skin. So I'll put in another drawing right here where the feet are we're gonna come down. And this is probably a little bit too tall, so I'll maybe bring the legs, make them a little bit shorter. Stretch out the body a little bit here. I really don't want you to focus too much on the quality of the drawings. It can be a little bit messy, that's okay. It's really about how you space these drawings apart from each other. Okay, so we'll come down like this. All right. Okay. All right, now something that's sort of bugging me are the extremes here and here, and I just gotta offset this a little bit. It's not, the center of gravity is a little bit off, so I'm gonna go in and fix this. So I'll lasso the character right here, and I'm just gonna move the character over, and then let me zoom in here. All right, so I just want to check and make sure. Yeah. Let's see how this looks when I put in the legs here. From here to there. I feel like that's much better. So I'm going to take this, I'll copy it, and then I'm going to go to this position over here. I'm going to clear this keyframe, and then I'm going to paste this, and I'll just move this over. Okay, so let me turn on my onion skin, and I can position this now, make sure the feet are all lined up. Cool. All right. There we go. All right, so at this point, I've got in a lot of my key drawings, the drawings that I need to figure out, how the character is going to move. And now what I want to do is add in some timing, right? Because all this stuff is just right next to each other, and if I press return, it happens really fast. There's no timing involved. So let's go in here, and I'm going to select both frames here on frame 1 for the person layer and the background layer. I'm going to press F5 and put in a little bit of space at the beginning here. So you have just the time for the character just standing there. Then right here on the next frame, the next keyframe, I'm going to click on both frames here and press F5 and put in some more time, right? I want to leave time for the anticipation. Coming down, and then we're going to go up. Now here, things are going to move pretty fast. So I'm going to select both frames on the timeline, press F5, and I'm just going to space these out just one frame in between these keyframes. And then right here, when we land, we need a lot of space. So I'm hitting F5 to add that space in. All right, so now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to play this. Okay, so we've got a lot of extra frames at the end here. Just going to select those, and I'm going to remove those frames. Okay, let's play this. Okay. All right. So I'm sort of satisfied with my timing now. So now it's time to add our slow in and slow out to the project. All right. So first we're standing right here. And then what we need to do is we need to slow into this extreme pose right here. So I'll go back. Let's see, we're gonna do this on 2. So I'll go back. This is 11. We'll go to 9, and then we'll go to 7. Right here, I'm going to insert a keyframe. Okay. So that's going to copy the frame from right here. I'll zoom in. And what I'm going to do here is just erase the legs, leave the feet, and then I'm just going to take the character and I'm going to rotate forward slightly and then just nudge it down a few pixels. Then I'm going to redraw the legs, and this time I'll put a little bend in those legs. So we're going from here to here. We're slowing out of that first position. And then over here, I'm going to right-click, insert a blank keyframe. I'll turn on my onion skin. And what I want to do is I want to slow into this green drawing right here, right? So it's going to be just slightly higher than that. So we'll put in a drawing right here. And then let's see, we want to make the legs a little bit higher. And then our arms can be a little bit lower. So what we want to see is we slow into that final pose right there. Okay. Just erase in here and erase right in here. Okay, so I'll play this now. There's our slow in. Okay, and then let's see, up here at the apex, we're going to have to slow in and slow out right here. So this is our apex frame. I'm just going to mark this apex, the highest point. Okay, so now I'm just going to add in some time on both layers here, before and after that apex frame. So I want to be able to put in 2 more drawings on either side. Okay, so I'm going to right-click, insert a keyframe, and the first thing I'll do is remove the apex, because it's not the apex frame. And then I'm going to take my lasso tool, I'm going to remove the antenna. Alright, so then we just need to move this over. So let's look at our previous frame right here. And we just need to move this forward a little bit. So we'll move that forward and down just a tiny bit. And then we'll put in another keyframe right here. And this time we'll move it forward a little bit more. Okay. So this time we'll go forward maybe like to something like that. So notice the distance is increasing here. So this is slow out right there. So this is the apex frame. We're going to slow out of that. So each drawing gets further apart. Now let's slow into that apex drawing right there. Okay. So why don't we copy this drawing right here? So I'm going to copy this and I'll paste over here. And then I just need to move this to the other side of the apex, right? And then let's copy this and paste over here. And we'll just move this further over, right? So now let's look at our slow in, slow out all together. So you can see right there, our slow in, slow out. It's a little bit hard to see. Let's move the range here. So the distance here, and let's see, do we have all of this? Let's go to the middle right here. This is the apex frame. We'll go 2 before and 2 after. So I feel like that final drawing maybe needs to come down a little bit. So if we go to this drawing right here, looking at the spacing, maybe just pull it down a little bit. Okay, so we have a slow in, slow out at the apex. And then when we hit the ground, we're going to pause. So we'll need to slow into the ground pose. So I'm going to add in space. I'll hit F5 for a drawing right here. So I'll insert a blank keyframe. Okay, let me zoom in here. So we need to slow into this pose here. And let's try putting in the arms, something like this. All right. Maybe I'll take this drawing right here and just move it down a little bit further. Okay, so we're slowing out there. And then we need to slow into this final position here. Okay, so we've got to come back to 55, insert a blank keyframe, turn on our onion skin. We're going to start to stand up. So we'll bring this back up. And then right here, I'm going to copy this frame, and then I'll go back 2 frames and I'll paste. And then once again, I'm going to erase the legs. I'll take the body right here. I'll rotate this forward and just bring it down a little bit. And then I'll just bend the leg slightly. So we're slowing out of that position and then we're slowing into that final position. So let's take a look. All right, so let's remove the apex sign right here. We don't need that anymore. Okay. All right, so now all we have to do is fix the wobble on the antenna. So we're gonna come up here, and starting right here, I think we can bring the antenna up. So I'm going to just look at the previous frame where it's down. Okay, so we'll bring it up a little bit here, and then we'll come up further. And then right here, we're going to bring that antenna further over. So I'll turn on my onion skin. I just want to see the previous frame where it was. And then we can kind of move this over. Cool. Okay. So when the person comes down right here, we're going to have to wobble the antenna right here. So I'm going to put in a keyframe here. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to erase the antenna. And then I'm going to put a bunch more keyframes in. So I'll hit F6. I'm putting in more keyframes without the antenna, and then I'm going to manually animate that. Okay, so first point where we come down, so the antenna is on frame 11, and then on frame 13 it disappears. So at this point, I'll turn on my onion skin, and I'll just bring that forward a little bit. Okay, and then we'll go forward here, and then it's going to flip to the other side. On frame 15, we'll come up, and then we'll come back down, and then we'll go back up a little bit, and then back down. And then final position, we'll come back to neutral right here. And then we'll just kind of look and see how that goes. So I'll just play the animation. Cool. So I think what we want to do now is, as that wobbles, we want to give it a little time at the end to register that. So I'm going to select both layers here, press F5, put a little space in there. Cool. All right, so let's now go to the end right here. I'm going to add in some more space here. And then I'll put in a new keyframe. And then I'm going to erase the antenna. And then I'll put in additional keyframes, hit F6. And let's see, I'll hit F5, put in more space, and then hit F6 one more. Okay, so I have a bunch of keyframes without the antenna. So I'll go to the last point where I see the antenna right here. So that's at 51. So I'll go to 53. Turn on my onion skin. I can see the previous drawing. So right in here, the person comes down and they stop, but the antenna continues to move. So I'm just going to have it wobble down. Okay, and then we'll go back up. It'll wobble this way. Okay, and then back down again. And then back up again. And then come down. Come back up. Okay, that's all we have. So let's put in an additional, let's put in some more space here. I'll hit F5 and then insert keyframe. And then I'm going to erase. And I just want to bring this back to a neutral position right there. And then I'll add some more space here, hit F5. Okay. Cool. Now if you have time, you can put a little wobble at the top here. Not going to be necessary for the actual test though. Okay, so that's it for our review for making your character jump for the final exam. Watch this video a couple times. Make sure you understand the entire process, and good luck.